I've watched basketball. I haven't just covered basketball for more than the last quarter century. I've watched it practically all of my life. And when it comes to MJ compared to LeBron, I just think there's levels. And I think that a lot of times people are looking at numbers and stuff. Well, MJ played 3 years in college. LeBron never went to college. MJ played in an era that was far more physical than is allowed now. The Jordan rules that were implemented by the bad boy Pistons and stuff like that, LeBron didn't have to go through any of that. And, you know, even though I hate using the word choke because I don't feel that way about LeBron. I think he's number 2 all time. I think he's a phenomenal leader and a phenomenal player and all of that other stuff. But I can't escape what I saw happen against Dallas. That has never been on Michael Jordan's resume. I'm not even talking about a finals loss, which never happened. I'm talking about anybody saying such things. And then you take into account just the mental makeup. LeBron James for so many years playing around, ingratiating himself with folks, not really creating an environment of animus and vitriol where you're going at one another and everybody knows it and this is what it is, you know. And so I think about things like that in terms of the kind of mood and tempo you set in order to engage in competition. And that, to me, is what's missing. So when I think about MJ over LeBron, it's not just the titles. It's not just his unblemished record in the NBA Finals. It's the way he embraced challenges. And Max, I know I told you one story, and you brought that up about, you know, MJ really setting the competition right. But there were other things like somebody would say something and a reporter would go to MJ during a press conference and say, well, this player said this or whatever, and Jordan wouldn't say anything. And then he'd get up and he'd leave the press conference. And then he'd peek his head back into the media room with us. And they said, what, who said that? You see what I'm saying? Just so we'd all know, like, who said that about me? Okay. You know what I'm saying? And then he'd leave and you knew. And the headlines let you know, Jordan's coming for this dude. That's the kind of stuff that LeBron has never given us, and that's the kind of stuff that contributes to the allure that allows someone to be labeled the GOAT. And that's where I'm at with it.
See, to me, what your argument is like, look, this is the way I think about who the greatest is, and LeBron can't overtake Jordan. The problem for me is I think a lot of young people now think, oh, any old-timer who says MJ, they just grew up with him. They have this, like, irrational attachment to him. You know, if you idolize whoever you come up watching, and they almost have a religious devotion to him. What I mean by religious devotion is it means an undisprovable hypothesis. Meaning no matter what you say, you can't talk me out of this. I believe this. This is based in feeling and faith and emotion. Belief. That's not me with Jordan. I want to be very clear to people who support LeBron as the greatest player ever. No. I have a rational approach to this. And rationally, Michael Jordan's the greatest player who ever lived. Like, I'm sorry to hurt the feelings of kids who came up watching LeBron, because I know when your eyes are on LeBron, you're like, how could anyone ever have been better than this? There was a guy who was even better than this. His peak was better than this. Value over career, that's another story. LeBron's longevity can't be touched. But at their very best, Jordan's the greatest player of all time. Which is why I was glad when you said, Stephen A., a couple weeks ago, and you did the whole thing, I don't know. If LeBron gets through the Western Conference and beats the big three on the Nets and they're healthy, we might have to have that conversation. The reason I was glad about that, even if you don't think that we have to have that conversation or change our minds, is because I do think we have to have that conversation. If LeBron goes, as Barkley said, on the road in the Western Conference as a play-in, beats the entire Western Conference, and then comes out of the West and faces a healthy Nets big three, let's say, who hasn't even been to a Game 7 yet, something like that, and LeBron beats them too? No, my ranking Jordan 1 is not some religious devotion to Jordan. It's rational. In other words, everybody, in fact, Jordan is the greatest player of all time. But if LeBron does that, then in fact, we better have a new conversation, because maybe LeBron will have caught him. We have to see how it unfolds. To me, it's evidence-based. And if LeBron produces that level of evidence, new conversation.
As usual, I think your comment is uppity and bougie, because who's to say that other people's position isn't about evidence? I don't believe this is some religious devotion to Jordan. I believe that I'm going on evidence, and I'm going on the eye test as well. It's not just numbers. It's not just championships. It's not just what I saw him do. It's who I saw him do it against. Those things are relevant to me. And so when I look at it from that perspective and I think about a LeBron and I think about the eye test, watching these guys perform, I also think about the conditions under which you perform. When I think about Jordan and how the Pistons were just so vicious and unapologetically so, and he had to not only overcome it himself as an individual, but he had to galvanize the troops around him to do so. Horace Grant was younger. You know, B.J. Armstrong and John Paxson and Steve Kerr and all of these other guys. I mean, I'm just so Greg Hodges initially anyway. Let's not forget him and what he meant to that franchise. The list just goes on and on. I pay attention to that. When I think about how he had to go through the Knicks when Pat Riley came up in there, and Pat Riley like, this ain't Showtime no more. So guess what? I'm going to inherit a Ken Bannister, and then I'm going to go out and get an Anthony Mason, and I'm going to get him to join Charles Oakley. I had a Xavier McDaniels before that with Patrick Ewing, and found a John Starks, and traded for a Rolando Blackman, and got a Derek Harper, and had a Greg Anthony, and all of this stuff. I'm going to remember those kind of things. I'm going to remember what the league was like, how vicious it was, how violent it was, how it turned off the NBA so much that rules were implemented to make the game more attractive to the viewing eyes, not just nationally, but globally. I'm thinking about all of those things and how one year after another, as the game changed and supposedly the competition elevated, Jordan kept elevating. And by the way, the mentality that he had was at the very beginning. It wasn't something he developed after. He didn't have to sit across the table with Pat Riley showing him rings and Dwayne Wade saying, taking him on vacation and going like this, yo, man, I need,
Stephen,
you're the best player in the world. But in order for us to be the best that we can be, I need to hand you the reins. Jordan didn't have to be told all of that.